Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be talking about the second phase banners of Honkai Star Rail that will feature the new 5-star character JING YUAN, with the 4 stars being Su Sheng, March 7, and Ting Wen. I'm going to first talk about JING YUAN because he is the new 5-star character. He's a lightning character that basically does a lot of AoE lightning damage from his skill and ultimate, and some from his follow-up attack from his talent, where he summons Lightning Lord, where basically it grabs its spear that stabs it down on the enemies that deals multiple hits of lightning damage. He is really good at dealing consistent lightning attacks, which is really good in Simulator Universe because a lot of the enemies do have lightning weakness, and being able to break the weakness of enemies will be really helpful. So with that, is JING YUAN really worth the pull for? In my opinion, there's no character that's a must pull, but if I have to say, is he a good pull? I honestly think he is, because considering of what he does, I think is really useful, especially in Simulator Universe, where I think a lot of the end game is going to really reside in. He's going to be an easy pick unit if you just want a damage dealer that can deal a lot amount of lightning damage and also consistent damage to decrease the enemy's weakness. I think he is a good character to go for. And if you're considering pulling multiple copies of JING YUAN, if you want to unlock his Eidolons, then in my honest opinion, I don't think it's worth getting any Eidolons if you were to go for E6. The reason being is because most of his Eidolons is focused around his follow-up attacks, which is not the major portion of his damage. It's mainly from his skill and his ultimate, and I think since his Eidolons really focus more on his follow-up attacks instead of like his other sources of damage like his ultimate and skill, then I think it's just fine to just get one copy of JING YUAN and just call it a day. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about the 4 stars. The 4 stars, first one starting with Su Sheng. In my honest opinion, I think she is a good 4 star in dealing with enemies with physical weakness. She deals pretty good damage from her ultimate and skill and is pretty easy to build. If you were to just give her attack or maybe even break if you want to deal with enemy weaknesses, then I think she is a good unit to build. Now considering Su Sheng's Eidolons, if you were to get multiple copies of her, I think her Eidolons are kinda nice but not really necessary. I think her E1 is kind of good for getting you a skill point if you were to weakness break an enemy. Her E4 is kind of nice for a break effect increase, and her E6 is kind of nice for a speed boost. March 7 is a nice character, but I honestly think there are other characters that you are willing to replace her in. I don't think she's really a character you would be excited for in getting multiple copies, even though it will be nice in increasing her usability, but I don't think the usability of her is really going to be major, considering like using Fire MC, and her Eidolons are kinda they're not really that effective in increasing what she does. And now moving on to the best 4-star character in my opinion, Ting Yen. I think she's a great character to get, mainly because she's a great support in regenerating energy for a character from her ultimate and giving an attack bonus from her skill. And in regards to her Eidolons, I think her first one, E1, is really good because it increases the character's speed. And her E6 is kinda nice because it increases the energy regenerated from her ultimate by 10. So overall, I think this banner is sort of nice, but ultimately I think it's only good if you're going for JING YUAN or Ting Yen. Su Sheng in March 7 is not really that necessary, even though Su Sheng is nice in my opinion. But in terms of this banner of how good it is, I think it's kinda If you want JING YUAN, go for him. If you can get Ting Yen, that's good as well. Moving on to the LIGHTCONE banner, where the main 5-star LIGHTCONE for JING YUAN is going to be Before Dawn. However, I have a lot to say about this LIGHTCONE. Now before I say that, I want to say that this is still a good 5-star LIGHTCONE. It increases your crit damage by 36% and increases his skill and ultimate damage by 18%, and then his follow-up attack damage by 48%. Now when hearing that does sound very nice. It still makes it a great LIGHTCONE. The reason why I don't think this is that great to go for is because there is another 4-star LIGHTCONE that is just as good and also good in increasing his damage, and what I'm talking about is the 4-star LIGHTCONE called Today is Another Peaceful Day, which is a battle pass LIGHTCONE if you were to select this one out of all the other 7. The reason why I think this is way more worth getting than Before Dawn is because this just simply gives you damage bonus, where this LIGHTCONE will give you 26% damage bonus for all of your attacks. And if you were to refine this to level 5, which is significantly a lot cheaper than like buying multiple copies of Before Dawn, this will increase your damage bonus from 26 to 52%. And also, when doing calculations of seeing what the difference value you get from this light cone and from the 5-star light cone Before Dawn, the difference is barely minimal, where I honestly think it's just better to go for this light cone if you haven't bought the battle pass than trying to summon Before Dawn. In this example, I used the damage formula equation with the assumption of 2 builds where one uses the 4-star light cone and the other the 5-star light cone, with the assumption that both builds have the same amount of stats, both builds were to have the same amount of attack and also crit damage, just to see the comparison of the value that each light cone gives, to see if it's really worth trying to go for this light cone instead of just going for this light cone from just buying the battle pass, because one, not only do you get the light cone, but two, it's significantly valuable in giving you a lot of resources. The difference that you gain when comparing the values of both light cones is barely a difference, to the point where I don't even think going for Before Dawn is even worth, even though yes, it will still out damage it slightly more. It does have more base stats, meaning that the build with the 5-star light cone will have higher attack. However, I don't think a lot of people are really rolling for the base stats of the light cone. I think they're mainly rolling for the effect that the light cone gives you, and when comparing the effects, where the difference is very minimal, where I think it's not really that worthwhile to go for Before Dawn, even though if you still like it, it is still good to get because it can be used on any other character. But if you still want a really great light cone in increasing JING YUAN's damage, then I think the best one to get is the battle pass one if you haven't chosen a light cone yet, or if you haven't bought the battle pass yet. If you are free to play and not really want to spend anything, then I think the best 4-star light cone to go for is the Seriousness of Breakfast, because it increases his damage, and for every enemy that he defeats, it increases his attack up to 3 stacks. And when looking at the other 4-star light cones that you might get, the first one, Only Silence Remains. This one increases attack and crit rate if there are 2 or fewer enemies on the field. I think this one is kind of good, but not really that great, because attack is not really a main stat you want to focus on, because attack doesn't really have that much value considering of how easy it is to get from other sources. And the increased crit rate is nice, but it has a condition that kind of sucks. The second 4-star, Planetary Rendezvous. This one is kind of good because it increases damage to all allies, but it kind of sucks because this only applies to allies of the same type that this is on. And the third one, Day 1 of My New Life. I think it's a great light cone because it increases the defense of the character, and after entering battle, it increases the damage resistance of all allies, which I think is really good to put on like Shepherd or Fire Trailblazer. Overall, I think this banner kind of feels the same way as the character banner, where the 5-star is good and only really one 4-star is great. But overall, I don't think it's really that much worth going for Before Dawn if you are going to get the battle pass light cone. But if you are really interested in Jing Yuan and want them to deal the most damage, then this is still a good light cone to go for. However, it's not really that necessary. And that is everything I have to say about the second phase banners. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did and found the video helpful, then subscribe to the channel for more content. Leave a like on the video to support it. Check out my Twitch for my live streams, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Peace.